So now let's look at another example that we have here. This is y equals 3x plus 2. Again, our slope, is going to be your coefficient, whatever number that you are multiplying in front of your x. So in this case, it's going to be 3. And then your y-intercept is your b. That's your constant. So it's whatever's being added or subtracted. Now keep in mind, this could actually be in front. This equation would be the exact same thing as 2 plus 3x. Okay, so long as the sign is the same, we still have a positive 2 and a positive 3. So keep in mind that it's not, the m is not necessarily the first number, it's whatever number is being multiplied times in front of the x. It's your coefficient in front of x. Okay, so now let's look at writing these down. We have our slope, which we said was 3. Now, remember when we have our slope, we're talking about rise over run. So I need to actually have a fraction. So 3, any whole number actually, we can make a fraction by putting it over 1. Because remember, a fraction is nothing but a division problem. 3 divided by 1 is 3. So any whole number, if you want to make it a fraction, so you have your rise over run, just put it over 1. Now our y-intercept is a positive 2. So that means that the point is going to be at x value 0, y value 2, because our x's are always 0 on the y-intercept. So I have a point at 0, 2. And then I can do my slope from there. Or I want to go ahead and look at, we have a table here. Okay, so this is another way that we can do this, is we can make a table and find a few points, find more than one point. That's always an option when you're drawing a line. So I'm going to go ahead and use that equation. Y is equal to 3, but instead of saying times x, I have my x value here, just like we were doing the other day with domain and range and functions and whatnot. So we're going to plug in that negative 2 and then add 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, plus 2 is negative 4. So I know we have a point at negative 2, negative 4. Then I can do our next point in my table. Y is equal to 3 times negative 1 plus 2. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, plus 2 is negative 1. And then I can continue on with my table. And as I continue on with my table, notice how I'm just changing what the x value is each time. I'm looking at whatever the x value is over here on the left for my table, and I'm just changing that each time as I go along. Now, I want to take a second to look at on our table right here, where we have our x value is equal to 0. Remember what we said, the x value is equal to 0 on the y-axis. So that's where we're crossing our y-axis. That's where we get our y-intercept from. And notice how when I plug in the 0 for the x, 3 times 0 is 0, plus 2 gives me 2. So that's going to be our y-intercept. So if you're looking at a table, if you don't have the equation, but you're looking at the table, you can always tell your y-intercept by where your x value is equal to 2, or is equal to 0. Whatever the y value is, in this case it's 2, that's your y-intercept. So 0, 2, which is what we marked on our graph there. And then if you're looking at a table, you can always just plug in the rest of the points. Or, since we have the equation, we have the slope, we can do the slope as well. We could go up 3 over 1. That gives us the point 1, 5, which is right here. We can go up 1, 2, 3 over 1 again. That gives us the point 2, 8, which is right there on our table. So we can do it either way. We can do it by, oops, I forgot to go over 1. We can do it either way. We can go by our slope when we have the equation, or we can also go by the table if we have our points. And if I went back, down 3, back 1, there's negative 1, and then down 3, back 1 again, and there's that last point on our table. So then we can draw our line through, and that's our graph.